Welcome to the deep dive. For months, we've been tracking the tech race in electric vehicles, gigafactories, battery chemistry, range figures, all that. But today, we're kind of setting the specs aside. Our mission is to really analyze the sources that reveal this. Massive, subtle, maybe even unexpected cultural shift that's happening, all driven by electric mobility. We're using a really fascinating set of recent insights here, especially those around the EV Cultural Impact Awards. They were specifically set up to honor the transformative effect EVs are having, on society, not just to the market figures.
That's absolutely the key distinction, yeah. We are past the point where this EV revolution is just about cleaner transport. If you look at the material defining these awards, their mission, it's pretty clear the shift is fundamentally reshaping how we think about mobility, innovation, our urban spaces, even the planet's future. So this dive is crucial if you want to get beyond the headlines and really understand why this change matters so much culturally.
Right. So the whole framework for this deep dive is built around understanding and, I guess, fostering that cultural change. These awards, they're explicitly focused on transformative impact and setting a kind of cultural direction towards 2030. They aren't just celebrating what's already here. They seem to be guiding an evolution.
Exactly. The source material really establishes that we're in this rapid transition. The conversation isn't about if this tech will succeed anymore. It's about how its success is going to rewrite the social rules, rewrite the relationship that you, the listener, have with your vehicle.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Section 1.
Yeah.
The fundamental shift in what a car actually means to us. I mean, historically, the car. It's been this colossal icon, especially in American culture, right? Synonymous with freedom and rebellion, the open road, individual power. The sources are showing that this symbolism is changing, and changing drastically.
hmm It's definitely moving away from that very individualistic symbol of, like, raw power. It's becoming more an emblem of sustainability and interconnection.
Hmm.
You can really see this tension in the bigger trends, which the sources pull together into what they're calling the triple shift redefining mobility.
Shared, autonomous, and electric. That combination, I mean, it seems almost designed to undermine the traditional idea of owning a car.
It is, absolutely. And that's a profound cultural change. Think about it. Historically, owning a car was all about personal control, personal freedom. But when you combine shared networks so you don't actually own the vehicle, lay, with autonomy, where you don't even drive it, lay, and then electric power connecting it to a smart grid, the whole concept of driving identity, of control, it just gets fundamentally dismantled. The physical car, the hardware becomes less important than the mobility service it provides.
And this is where the technology kind of violently collides with culture, isn't it? We're not just swapping out engines here. We are literally turning cars into rolling computers. The sources detail how cars are becoming software on wheels, the rise of the digital vehicle.
Yeah, and what's fascinating there is the implication when your car is essentially software, the manufacturer's relationship with you doesn't stop when you drive off the lot. We're already seeing subscription services for features, right? Performance boosts, advanced lighting, things like that. Continuous over-the-air updates. It fundamentally changes that post-purchase relationship. It's less a mechanical transaction you complete and more like an ongoing digital subscription. Your car feels less like a piece of hardware you own outright and more like a service platform you're accessing.
That feels a little intrusive, maybe, but also undeniably modern. And that digital foundation, it must dictate the aesthetics too, right? The aggressive, muscular look of a big V8 often signaled power, internal complexity. What signals power in an EV?
Efficiency, seamless integration, that's the new language. Those old design cues linked to a big combustion engine, a massive grille for air intake, a long hood, they're becoming obsolete. EVs, often built on that simpler skateboard architecture, are being, as the sources say, designed for a new age. The design now communicates efficiency, maximized interior space, usually a sleek aerodynamic shape. It emphasizes future-forward thinking, not raw, noisy power. The look itself becomes a signal of sustainability.
Okay, so this shift in what the car is, digital software, zero-emission efficiency, that naturally changes our experience in the car. Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, the cultural and sensory changes impacting our daily lives. That audible transformation is something I keep coming back to, the sound or lack of it.
It is, quite possibly, the most profound sensory shift we're facing with this. We're moving towards the sound of silence. When cars lose their roar, their growl, we lose a massive component of social signaling. and even artistic expression that combustion engines provided for decades. Just think about movies. How many car chases are defined by engine roars and screeching tires? How many rock songs built their identity around the sound of a V8 starting up?
Yeah, the silence itself creates this kind of cultural vacuum that we have to navigate. It changes the whole atmosphere of cities, the dynamics in neighborhoods, maybe even how safe people feel walking around.
Precisely. And what's really interesting is seeing how quickly society is adapting, or perhaps how certain generations are adapting. The sources identify some clear generational perspectives, noting specifically why Gen Z and millennials are driving the EV conversation.
Right, and their motivation seems, well, different from the very first EV adopters, maybe,
Mhm.
who might have been more focused on the tech novelty or, tax breaks.
Absolutely. For these younger demographics, climate action and sustainability are often front and center. That makes choosing an EV much more of a value-based decision. It's a form of social signaling, too. Owning an EV becomes a visible way to communicate, hey, I'm committed to environmental consciousness.
Which ties directly into that dramatic shift in status symbols we touched on earlier.
It's a really core insight from the material. Car ownership is transitioning from status symbol to sustainability symbol. Think about the traditional symbols of wealth, maybe loud, maybe inefficient, complex machines. Those are being replaced by emblems of responsibility, efficiency, and advanced tech. The status is now signaled by having zero tailpipe emissions, having cutting-edge battery range, having that sophisticated software integration. You're signaling alignment with the future, not being tethered to a fossil-fueled past.
And this transition, it just ripples through everything, doesn't it? Our daily structures, our routines, it changes the whole rituals of the road, as the sources put it. How we travel, how we commute, even planning holidays.
Yeah.
That shift from a quick 5-minute refuel to maybe a 30-minute scheduled charge fundamentally alters how you manage personal time.
It sort of replaces one kind of anxiety with another, you could say. Gone is that frantic search for a gas station when the needle's low on a long highway stretch. Now you manage range anxiety, and the need to plan charging stops into your journey. And the interaction with public charging infrastructure becomes this whole new social ritual. Instead of that quick, often isolating pump-and-go experience inside your car, charging often requires you to step away, interact with the environment around the charger, maybe grab a coffee, engage with the infrastructure itself. And these chargers are often in very visible public spaces, which itself signals that this transition is happening all around us.
Okay, this brings us right to the core of those awards we mentioned in Section 3, the catalysts. If this really is a cultural revolution, well, it needs more than just engineers designing better batteries. It needs artists, policymakers, pioneers, the whole spectrum.
The sources make that crystal clear. The EV revolution isn't just an automotive change. It's an entire ecosystem transformation. And the award seems structured to recognize the diverse group of leaders who are driving the human side of this massive shift. We can break it down into about 5 key areas of impact that are being celebrated.
Okay, give us the breakdown. Let's start with the nuts and bolts of the new economy side.
Right. First up is innovation and entrepreneurship. This is about powering the next wave of electric mobility. And crucially, the sources emphasize this is an ecosystem that goes beyond cars. So they're recognizing innovation in charging tech, battery recycling, huge issue, new supply chains for components, vehicle-to-grid integration. The business opportunity is basically everywhere but the tailpipe now.
Okay, then we shift more to the people influencing behavior and the rules of the road, so to speak.
Exactly. That's covered by leadership and advocacy. This champions the necessary policy changes and works on social acceptance, making sure regulations and public conversation actually support this massive transition. Then third, and this feels vital for overcoming public skepticism, is education and public engagement. This focuses on powering knowledge, shaping perception, recognizing efforts to make sure the public actually understands the tech, debunking myths about range or charging, and really showcasing the wider societal benefits.
In the final two categories, these seem to really get at the intangible stuff, the part that actually rewrites the culture.
Precisely. You've got cultural expression in media, which is all about shaping the revolution through art and story. If the V8 engine sort of defined the soundscape of the last century, this category is looking for what defines the electric soundscape of the next one. The sources even specifically mention the existence of an EV album that started it all, which really highlights this idea that culture has to lead acceptance. Art helps normalize the change.
An EV album. Wow. Think about that contrast. We went from decades of songs about horsepower, fast cars, roaring engines, to potentially songs celebrating quiet efficiency, sustainable movement. That's a fundamental shift in artistic subject matter and tone right there.
It truly is. And the final key category is special recognition. This seems designed to honor a unique, transformative impact that maybe doesn't fit neatly into the other boxes. Perhaps it's a radical new financing model for EVs, or a groundbreaking urban planning concept built around electric mobility, something that cuts across categories.
And looking at the types of people being highlighted, the people and pioneers, it's clear the sources emphasize needing diverse voices to lead this change. It's not just one group.
Oh, absolutely. The source material specifically calls out women leading the charge in EV innovation, acknowledging that bringing diverse perspectives into these traditionally male-dominated fields like engineering and automotive is essential if you want to create products and systems that actually work for everyone. We also see mentions of young advocates reimagining mobility, often taking the lead in their local communities, maybe driving policy changes at the city level.
And tying back to the arts and culture piece, cultural icons, artists, musicians, influencers who are seen behind the wheel. These are the people essentially normalizing the EV lifestyle, making it seem aspirational, maybe cool, rather than just niche or technical.
But we can't forget the technical backbone either. The sources also celebrate the inventors changing how we move, the ones who went from garage tinkers to global impact. So it's this revolution powered equally by grassroots energy, established leadership, and creative expression. It's that blend of art and engineering, policy, and passion that truly makes it a cultural movement, not just a technological upgrade.
So if we connect all these threads back to the bigger picture, the sources really illustrate that the EV movement has fundamentally moved beyond its initial phase. We're not just waiting for the technology to get good enough anymore. We're actively building a new culture around it.
Right. The focus now seems entirely on the evolution of electric mobility and the rise of these comprehensive electric mobility ecosystems. It's about building a fully integrated world, everything from the power source to the policy framework to the artistic representation, a world where electric transport isn't just an alternative option. It's becoming the natural assumed default.
Which brings us back to you, the listener. The whole aim here, fostering this cultural impact, is benchmarked for 2030. That's really just around the corner. Think about how rapidly that sound of silence might be approaching your own city streets, how quickly your neighbor's ideas about status symbols might be changing, how this shift is redefining urban identity. This is personal, and it's happening fast.
Yeah, and this raises what feels like the single most important question emerging from the sources we've looked at today. If the car itself is being fundamentally redefined, moving from that old status symbol to a sustainability symbol, used to what it is, and given that the sources detail this necessary triple shift of shared, autonomous, and electric mobility, well, what does this truly mean for the future identity of shared transportation? If that deep individual connection to the automobile starts to fade, what cultural rituals or social identity markers will even replace it in this emerging, more collective system?
Something to definitely mull over until our next deep dive. Thanks for joining us.